Hey everyone, and welcome to the Headliner Podcast. We're your hosts, Nicholas and Elissa, and we're here to keep you in the loop on all the things you can do to promote your podcast. So, Elissa, what are we talking about today?
Well, we're actually not going to be doing a lot of the talking today.
Oh man.
I know, right? We actually released a new tool that's going to do most of the talking and the heavy lifting for us, and it's called TLDL.
Okay, so, help me out here. Pretend I don't know what that is. What is TLDL? Give me the
So
TLDR on TLDL. PLZ.
that's a lot to.
That's please.
I got that one. I did get that one. That
No,
was.
no, it's for the listeners. I didn't have a brain aneurysm or anything. I needed to make sure they knew that.
I thought it was a blonde joke. I was like, okay, cool, cool,
No,
cool, cool, cool. That's how we're
never.
starting today. But anyways, what TLDL stands for is too long, didn't listen. So, like I said, it's a new tool that Headliner just built, but it's actually a podcast summarizer and it blends clips of real podcasts with AI hosted insights.
Hmm. That's pretty cool. So literally it's the TLDR thing, but with listening instead of reading.
It's literally, yeah, TLDR, but for podcasts, hence the TLDL. But yeah, it's very like podcast like. It creates what we're calling a unique audio experience for all listeners. So it really kind of allows you to get through that back catalog or that extensive queue of all of those podcast recommendations you have that you just, maybe not have hundreds of hours to listen to. But what it does is it literally just will create these summaries so you can kind of mix and match shows, picking up to 5 episodes, either all from the same podcast or across 5 different podcasts, or however you want to math that out. You can do just one episode of one podcast, or I'm not going through all the combinations of that because you can try it because it's free.
Okay, so it's a free way to get a summary of all your podcasts. It's almost like a personalized newsletter you can listen to.
Very much so. And as you do need to actually create like a free Headliner account, it's just literally like, hey, here's my email. Super easy. It takes about like maybe 20 seconds of work if you're manually typing your email out. But we'll actually send you an email of all of the stuff that you summarize. So you'll even have like a link to your TLDL project that you can go back and listen to over and over again. But then you'll also have all of those shows sent into your inbox. So you can either click to continue listening to the full episodes, or you can just kind of remember, like, oh, yeah, I did summarize that. I did want to listen to that. I had interest, or hey, my buddy recommended this to me. So it kind of leans into this idea of more of a flexible discovery and flexible listenership.
Okay, that is super cool. I love all the ways that AI is just becoming a thing in podcasting. On the
Mm-hmm.
production side, we now have tools that help edit podcasts, and now we have
Mm-hmm.
tools to help listen to them. What else can we
Yeah.
do? So, okay, with that out of the way, I think you mentioned it earlier, maybe it was prior to us hitting record. You actually have an example to play us out with.
I do. So, Headliner, we have a podcast. You're listening to it right now. And we have kind of been talking about YouTube and video a lot. So, what we decided to do for this episode of the podcast is to actually make a TLDL project that is
Mhm.
going to summarize our 5 most recent episodes discussing video and YouTube podcasting.
Okay. Well, I've heard everything I need to hear. I've gotten the TLDL on TLDL, and let's just hear that clip, I guess. So we'll catch everyone on the next episode. Hopefully, you get some insights. And if you want to learn more about some of the stuff we talk about within these episodes, we all have them. They're on our YouTube channel, they're on our podcast page already. And then you can also just check out TLDL itself. Where can they check that out?
Yeah, so TLDL lives on Headliner's site. So you can go to play.headliner.app/TLDL. We'll also just be linking in the show description too. So you can just really easily click on over and listen to it from there.
Okay. Thank you for that, Alyssa. And thank you to everyone for listening. Hope you enjoy these clips. And here's a joke, because I have to get one in. It's contractually obligated. TTYL. Talk to you later.
Welcome to Headliner TLDL, where we transform full podcast episodes into curated highlight reels. Today, we've got 4 fantastic episodes from the Headliner podcast, Discovery and Marketing. In this episode of the Headliner podcast, hosts Nicholas and Elissa discuss the significance of incorporating video into podcasting. highlighting its role in enhancing discoverability, audience retention, and engagement through social media platforms like YouTube and TikTok. To kick things off, Nicholas dives into the importance of video for podcasting.
So what's so important about video for podcasting?
Well, if you're in podcasting, if you're subscribed to any industry newsletters or anything, there's a pretty good chance that you've heard about video and podcasting. YouTube actually just released a whole report about how they had over, it was 1 billion views of video podcast in the month of January alone. So that's kind of an insane stat to start it off.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, and even outside of YouTube, social video, we see over 71% of podcast listeners actually have discovered a podcast through social video. So, I mean, those two stats alone to me are pretty compelling to kind of point out the importance that video has for podcasting and just kind of the opportunity that it also presents podcasters as well.
Elissa shares an interesting analogy about the evolution of media.
And like, it feels like a natural extension of what, that analogy I just said. Podcasting is an extension of radio. Well, just speaking as the film nerd who studied like the history of film and TV and stuff, that's what they called television to movies back in the day. And that's what they called television to radio. It was an extension of that. A lot of early TV shows were just radio programs with pictures. And we're kind of seeing the same thing in podcasting now, where it is just a lot of those audio shows we love, but with pictures now of people sitting there with microphones.
Or even I've seen like a lot of people use the AI to make like avatars and stuff. That's kind of a cool way to circumvent that whole, I don't want to get on camera. I don't want to get on camera. I'm here on camera. I'm doing it.
Nicholas highlights another compelling stat about podcast listeners on YouTube.
Well, that's kind of like, there's another stat I've seen thrown around that I'm totally not reading off our spec doc for this. I think it's something to the effect of like, hey, did you know that 1/3 of podcast listeners are on YouTube? Which is, it's obviously a video native platform. So it does kind of just point out like, hey, if you're a podcaster and you're struggling to get more people listening, or you just want, maybe you're not struggling, maybe you're cream of the crop and you're on top and you're just like, hey, I want to get even more people. Yeah, get on YouTube if you're not already and consider organic video.
In this episode of the Headliner podcast, Nicholas and Elissa discuss the importance of creating effective podcast clips for promotion, covering various strategies and types of content that can engage audiences on social media. Nicholas opens the discussion on how to make a podcast clip.
Well, Nicholas, I think that we should talk about how to make a podcast clip and more specifically, what makes a good podcast clip.
Okay, that's interesting. We always kind of tell people that they should promote their podcast with clips because that's what we do. That's like our whole shtick, right? And it sounds like we should just take some time to do that because there are so many ways you can do it. And sometimes you just need to like hear them, sometimes you need that reminder that you don't just need to promote your show in one way, but you can do all these other neat things.
Elissa shares her rule of thumb for creating engaging podcast clips.
As far as like podcast clips go, the rule of thumb that I've always stuck to and that I think works the best for the most people is keeping them as short and sweet as you can. Just getting to like the real meat and potatoes of your clip, what it's about, and doing what you can to position that first and foremost. Most social media is short form content. So as far as like video lengths go, I'm sure you have a number that might be better than what I'm about to say, but I always say, hey, if it's going to be a 10-second long clip from your podcast, make it a 10-second long clip, but maybe don't shoot for over a minute. That's kind of like the far reaches of what a podcast promotion clip should be.
Nicholas emphasizes the effectiveness of shorter clips for better engagement.
But yes, typically you're seeing shorter, like 15-second or less clips are going to perform better because they have better watch time, which leads to higher engagement, more shareability, all that stuff. So especially if you're trying to build, definitely start small and then like increase the clip length as your audience grows.
Yeah. And also to the whole point of like the individual level. Well, first off, if you want to start small and build, that's an amazing way to look at it. It is less work to make a shorter clip. So, hey, that's like actually a plus. But no, like on a personal level, it also makes sense.
In this episode of the Headliner podcast, hosts Nicholas and Elissa explore how to effectively start and grow a podcast on YouTube, discussing both high-effort and low-effort approaches, the importance of video content, and practical tips for podcasters looking to leverage YouTube for audience growth. Nicholas sets the stage by discussing why YouTube is essential for podcasters.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously, you kind of just said it. There are two ways one can approach doing YouTube. Before we get into that, we should probably say why YouTube, ask the existential question. And, we've talked about this before, and we probably have an episode or two or three where people can go and learn more about this stuff if they need to. But the quick and dirty and the most updated version of the story is that YouTube is the number one place for podcasts, isn't it? And I think we actually just saw a recent stat from Edison Podcast Metrics, where they basically were like, oh yeah, YouTube is responsible for like 31% of weekly podcast listeners in America, which is a crazy number. Spotify is at like 27, and the shocker to me is like Apple is at a little paltry 15%.
Elissa explains the advantages of being part of the YouTube ecosystem.
So being part of that ecosystem, it actually leverages a bunch of really cool things that kind of live outside of the YouTube platform. So that's going to be, of course, looking more at search. So YouTube is essentially like integrated with Google's algorithm. So when people are searching for stuff on Google, as they do, it's a lot easier for YouTube content to actually be recommended. And it's actually one of more of the kind of top things that gets pushed. So I'm sure you've been in Google and I'm sure you've seen, now they have the whole like Gemini thing normally that pops up, but there'll be one or two links and then you'll start some videos pop up and then you'll start to see some more like text-based links.
In this episode of the Headliner Podcast, hosts Nicholas and Elissa discuss the importance of uploading podcasts to YouTube, highlighting its growing popularity as a listening platform, the demographics of its audience, and tips for optimizing podcast visibility on the platform. Nicholas points out the compelling reasons to upload podcasts to YouTube.
So, is there a specific reason why we should be posting to YouTube?
More than one specific reason, in my opinion. There are lots of reasons to upload to YouTube. So the past 2 years, YouTube has actually been marked as the number one listening platform for a podcast in the world. So 31% of weekly podcast listeners actually consume podcasts on YouTube. And then it's followed by Spotify, which is at 27%. So not a huge difference, but, a little bit more of a difference at, 4%, right?
Yeah,
4%.
4%.
Yeah. That math tracks, that adds up to like millions of people if you actually think about the size of these platforms.
Elissa shares a personal insight about her podcast listening habits.
And then, of course, Apple Podcasts at that 15% there. So those are going to be the big three right now.
Well, that's actually such a crazy stat when you think about it. And I saw this stat, I think it was in Pod News this week or something along those lines. And the second I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, that is kind of weird. And sure enough, it was the same morning I got my YouTube Music Wrapped for the year. And they have a slide dedicated to podcasts. And they were like, you listened to 50 hours of this one show this year. And that's when it hit me. Oh yeah, I guess I do listen to all of my podcasts on YouTube. How about that?
Thanks for listening to Headliner Tldl. We hope you enjoyed these clips, and if you want to dive deeper, you can listen to any of the full episodes right here on Headliner.